The morning after I retired, I woke up without an alarm for the first time in 51 years. No client brief waiting in my inbox. No 7:30 a.m. call with a European fund manager. No fresh stack of risk assessment dossiers printed double-sided and annotated in margins only I could decipher. Just silence, thick and reluctant. Like even the walls weren't sure what to do with me now. I stood in the kitchen, still wearing the navy silk robe Howard had given me on our 40th anniversary. It used to feel elegant. Today, it felt like a costume, something worn by someone playing at leisure. I made tea. Not for two, just one. Howard had been gone 8 years. Cardiac arrest. No symptoms. No warnings. Just gone. And now, I was retired. Alone. A titleless woman in a quiet house, where the most pressing question was whether to keep the newspaper delivery or switch to digital. At exactly 10:03, the doorbell rang. I already knew who it was. Rylan never arrived at 10 on the dot. That would have been early, but 3 minutes late? That was just enough to feel casual, unforced, in control. "Mom," he said, kissing my cheek. "Congratulations. Officially unemployable." Behind him floated Melora, all gauzy sleeves and essential oil aura. She smelled like sage and rosewater and the unspoken smugness of someone who thinks lavender cures grief. "We brought croissants," she said, holding up a paper bag with a logo I didn't recognize. "And something for us to go over." They set up at the dining room table, the one with the glass top that always made coffee rings look like crime scenes. Rylan pulled out a manila folder and spread out the documents like he was dealing cards. "I know this is probably the last thing you want to think about right now," he began. "But this is actually the perfect time." I raised an eyebrow. "Perfect? For what?" "Streamlining," he said. "Estate, finances, future care. All the things you always told me matter most." Melora chimed in. "We've been researching this for months. You don't want to wait until it's a crisis. You want peace of mind now." "That's what you taught us." She said it like I should feel proud. They had already highlighted the signature lines in blue. Tabs, even. Little flags that read, "Sign here," like confetti tossed over a trapdoor. I picked up the first page. It was titled, "Consolidated Living and Discretionary Care Agreement." "Don't let the legalese scare you," Rylan said quickly. "It's just one document that covers everything. Banking access, medical directives, investment portfolios, home title, vehicle registration. All of it?" I said, folding the corner of the page slightly. "All of it." He nodded. "One clean slate. You'll never have to worry about another statement, another tax form, another financial headache again. Ever. And who handles it?" He smiled. "Me. We already set up a secure trust. It'll all be in your name, technically, but I'll manage it on your behalf. Melora's added as a secondary designee for health and lifestyle oversight." I looked at them. Beautiful, confident, composed. Like spokespeople for a future I hadn't asked for. "I'm still perfectly capable of—" "Mom," Rylan interrupted. Just softly enough to seem gentle but firmly enough to shut me down. "This isn't about capability. It's about delegation. Freedom." Melora reached across the table and touched my hand. Her fingers were cool, manicured, controlled. "You've spent a lifetime making hard decisions. Let someone take care of you for once." And that was the line that did it. It wasn't cruel. It was rehearsed compassion. A pre-approved script. Just sentimental enough to disarm. Just authoritative enough to sound wise. I looked down at my wrist at the retirement watch, engraved with the logo of Vance, Halling, the firm I built from a single folding desk in 1974. I had spent 5 decades helping companies anticipate risk. And here I was, unable to read between the lines of my own child's kindness. I signed. Initials first, then signature again. They left a final page unbound. "Just a minor clause update," Rylan said, flipping it toward me with a flourish. I didn't read it, not because I trusted them, but because I didn't want to confirm what I already suspected, that something was being taken from me. Gently, they left smiling. Melora kissed my cheek again, this time leaving a faint print of rose-colored balm. Rylan hugged me like he was already late for his next pitch deck. "You'll never have to worry about a thing again," he said on the way out. I watched the door close behind them, and then I went to the kitchen, opened my top drawer, and pulled out a small black leather ledger. I hadn't used it since Howard passed. But today, I wrote one line. This is how it begins, not with theft, but with a pen and a smile. The first clue was subtle, not a siren or a letter in bold, not even an alert. Just a pause, the kind a machine makes when it's deciding whether you still exist. I was standing at my desk, typing my Chase credentials into the app I'd used for years. Same password, same 4-digit PIN, same fingerprint that had unlocked quarterly audits, million-dollar fund transfers, and one very well-timed offshore divestment in 2009. Denied. I blinked. Tried again. Slower this time. Deliberate. Incorrect password. Try again. Third time. Locked. I stared at the screen, then at my phone, then back at the screen. No missed calls. No emails. Just silence and the glow of polite rejection. I walked to the kitchen and opened the drawer beneath the kettle, the one where I kept my old records in neatly labeled folders. I found last month's paper statement. Balance. 184, 332.92. A comfortable cushion. The reward for a life spent dodging corporate disasters and reminding billion-dollar boards that trust without proof was gambling. I still had the proof. What I didn't have anymore, apparently, was access. I called Rylan. It rang 4 times, straight to voicemail. The pre-recorded kind with the default music and clipped edges. I didn't leave a message. Instead, I texted, "Hi, having trouble accessing my bank app. Did anything change?" Mom's reply came 12 minutes later. "Hey, yes. We updated some back-end stuff. I'll call soon." Nothing to worry about. I waited. An hour passed. Then 3. At 3:18 p.m., he called. I picked up on the first ring. "Hey, Mom," he said. Cheerful. Efficient. "Everything okay?" "I can't access my accounts," I said plainly. "Password's not working." "Right," he said, like he'd forgotten I was human. "We've consolidated things for you." Define consolidated. We migrated everything to the trust structure we talked about. It's still your money, obviously, but under my oversight for simplicity. Less fragmentation. I said nothing. "It's all good, Mom. You're covered. We're trying to give you peace of mind. By revoking my own?" There was a pause. "Of course not," he said, tone softening like a politician prepping for damage control. "You don't need to worry about that anymore. Just focus on rest. Read. Write. Travel. Whatever makes you feel good." I wasn't aware I needed permission to feel solvent. "Come on," he said lightly. "Don't be dramatic." He changed the subject. Asked if I'd tried the new almond milk creamer Melora sent. Said it had ashwagandha. Said it reduced cortisol. I hung up while he was still talking. That night, I made tea with real cream. The kind I liked. No adaptogens. No pre-approval. In the morning, I went to buy stamps and found my credit card declined. The clerk, a young woman with sharp eyeliner and a t-shirt that read, "I'm not rude. I'm just hungry," handed it back without flinching. "Do you have another one?" she asked. I did. It didn't work either. I paid in cash. Quarters and bills and $1 silver I'd kept since Nixon resigned. All exchanged with the kind of numb clarity only humiliation brings. When I got home, a sleek white envelope was waiting in the mailbox. Inside, a prepaid spending card, a note printed in cheerful sans serif. "To simplify your day-to-day purchases, your monthly living allowance has been allocated to this card. Your financial health is our priority." Signed, not by Rylan, but by the Vance Family Trust, financial administrator. No phone number, no greeting, no soul. Just a card, a limit, a boundary. I sat in the armchair by the fireplace, the one Howard used to read in, and held the card between 2 fingers like it might disintegrate from lack of spine. Then I pulled out the black ledger. Page 2. "The moment you are helped out of your own autonomy, it will be framed as love, and no one will question the frame." I didn't cry. Crying was for surprises. And this wasn't a surprise. It was a strategy. The envelope was cream-colored, heavy paper. My name embossed in a serif font I didn't recognize, which meant Melora had designed it. Inside was a card, matte finished with metallic embossing. Not quite gold, not quite elegant. Just the kind of thing people make when they're trying too hard to look thoughtful. A small folded letter accompanied it. Dear Drusilla, as part of your simplified financial wellness plan, we've included your monthly essentials allowance. 800 has been preloaded for groceries, home items, and light recreation. Additional requests may be submitted to Rylan or me for review. We love you, and we're so glad to be part of this next phase. Melora, with Rylan, of course. The heart emoji was printed. Not handwritten. I placed the card on the counter. Then I made tea my kind. Loose leaf. Darjeeling. Boiled water in a stovetop kettle. Not one of those gurgling machines that flash blue lights and beep when it's time to sip. The tea helped, but not by much. 800. It wasn't the number that bothered me. I've lived on far less. What bothered me was the math behind it. Somewhere in a spreadsheet I hadn't approved, my entire life had been reduced to cell formulas. Groceries, tissues, laundry detergent, and just enough pre-approved joy to keep me docile. They called it a stipend. In my day, stipends were for interns, grad students, assistants who hadn't earned benefits. I'd never had one, not even when I started my own firm. I paid myself a full salary from day one, even when I had to split it with overdue printer bills and desk chairs I found at auction. But now, at 74, I'd apparently become someone whose autonomy was subject to a reload date. The first time I used the card, it was at Greer's Market, a small shop just 2 blocks down, where they still use paper receipts and know the difference between butter and margarine. My total was 68.11. I swiped the card. It buzzed. The clerk, a young man with sleepy eyes and a shy smile, said, Do you have another one? I did. It worked the second time, but only after I asked him to run it as debit and entered a PIN I hadn't chosen myself. Melora had sent it via email under the subject line, Drusilla's Convenience Access Code. That night, Melora dropped by unannounced. She wore yoga pants, platform sneakers, and a fleece vest with a logo for some charity she'd recently started. Something to do with crystals and grief. She carried a large canvas bag filled with clear containers, Tupperware, stackable, labeled, Meals for the week, she said brightly. Everything's balanced and low sodium. I even included lentil stew. You always say you like lentils. I said I liked lentils when they were warm, served with toasted garlic naan, and shared with someone who understood why I preferred them over steak. But I didn't say that out loud. I just took the bag and nodded. She breezed through the kitchen like an efficiency expert on amphetamines. Checked my fridge, adjusted my thermostat, left a candle labeled Focus on the mantle. As she left, she kissed my cheek and said, We're proud of how well you're adjusting. Like I was being weaned off something dangerous. When the door closed, I stood in the foyer for a moment and looked down at the card in my hand, the one they'd given me, for ease. Then I went to my desk, pulled out the black leather ledger, and turned to a fresh page. I wrote slowly, each word measured, like a metronome setting the pace for what came next. This is not about money. It's about disappearing. I tapped the end of the pen against the table and waited for the silence to thicken. It always did just before something important broke free. I remembered something Howard once said. Years ago, when one of our clients tried to write off a $12 million loss as a harmless oversight, the smallest lies are the most dangerous, he'd said, because people believe them fastest. The stipend was a small lie, a well-dressed insult, a passive little velvet box where they thought they could store my usefulness. They had no idea what I still had left. And what I'd just begun to count. The mistake came folded into an envelope marked, Delivered by Hand, which meant Melora had been here while I was out. It was a Friday. I'd taken my morning walk a little later than usual, the breeze was milder, and I'd convinced myself I had nowhere to be. It's strange how freedom, when handed to you in the form of forced leisure, begins to feel like exile. I found the envelope resting on the corner of my dining table, neatly aligned with the edge. Inside, among the usual carefully curated updates, a color-coded budget summary, a pre-approved list of additional expenses for the month, was a page someone had clearly forgotten to remove. It wasn't formatted like the rest. No color. No bullet points. Just a block of raw transaction data, likely a back-end export from whatever software Rylan used to track the trust. Line 42 caught my eye. Vance Family Trust. Wire transfer. 75. 0. Business development. Consultant contract dated. 6.1 for business development. Consultant contract. I hadn't hired a consultant. Rylan certainly didn't need one unless you count someone skilled in laundering ambition through parental betrayal. I read the line 3 times. The amount wasn't what unsettled me. I've seen numbers far larger disappear for reasons far dumber. But this particular number was familiar. When we first launched Vance, Halling, Howard and I agreed to cap our initial client retainer at 75.0. We believed people were more serious when they had skin in the game. Apparently, Rylan had just hired someone with my money at a price I once set to play a role I no longer qualified for. I didn't call. I didn't text. Instead, I made tea, sat by the window, and waited until the hour was late enough for offense to sound like civility. At 8:47 p.m., I called his direct line. No FaceTime. I prefer to confront without performance. "Mom," he answered on the second ring. His tone clipped but not impolite. "Everything okay? Tell me about the 75.0 consultant." Pause. Then, "What?" "You authorized a transfer from the trust, labeled business development. It went out last week." Another pause. Longer. Then he sighed. "Oh, that." "Yes," I said, voice calm. "That. It's not your concern anymore." He said it without venom. That was the part that landed hardest. No anger. No defensiveness. Just a flat statement of jurisdiction, as though I were a former tenant demanding keys to a building I'd already sold. "Is that the line you rehearse now?" I asked. "Or did it just come naturally? Mom, did you write it into the trust? The part where I forfeit the right to know how my life's work is being siphoned?" He exhaled, annoyed now. "You said you wanted to retire." "I said I wanted to stop working. I didn't say I wanted to be erased." There was a brief, almost imperceptible silence on his end. A stall, not a pause. I could hear the digital echo of him turning away from someone, Melora, likely before saying, "We're trying to keep things clean and professional. You have your stipend. Everything else is handled." "Handled?" I repeated. "Is that the language you use now? Like a fire hazard?" He didn't respond. "Good night, Rylan." I ended the call before he could spin something apologetic. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was upset, but because I was wide awake in a way I hadn't been in years, the kind of alertness that used to arrive at 3 a.m. before a major merger. When everything felt like it was just about to tip, and you had 2 options: act or get flattened. I stood in my closet and pulled down the old gray lockbox from the top shelf. Inside were the founding papers of Vance Halling Charter, Articles of Incorporation, original signatures. My name, first. Howard's, second. Rylan's name appeared nowhere. I tucked them into a canvas folder and slipped it beneath my mattress. Not because I thought someone would steal them, but because I wanted to feel them weight against springs. Something solid underneath me while the rest of the world turned into sand. Then I turned to my desk, opened the black ledger. Page 4. No headings. Just ink. Once, I taught him how to see around corners. Now, he assumes I can't even read a ledger line. He forgets who wrote them first. It was a Tuesday. Mild sun, low wind, the kind of morning that tries to disguise its indifference as peace. I had walked the same route I always did down Laurel Street, past the shuttered bakery with the peeling teal awning, then left onto Wexford where the hydrangeas were still defying October. I didn't walk for exercise. I walked to stay known to the world. To remind the sidewalks, I still had weight. When I returned, something was off. Not visibly, not loudly, just displaced. A spatial absence, like a missing tooth. The foyer looked the same. The entryway rug maroon, worn, fringe curling, still needed replacing. Mail stacked where I'd left it, but the air inside had changed. It moved differently. Lighter in a way that didn't feel like relief. I stepped into the parlor and stopped. The far wall bare. Where there had always been a piano now, there was nothing but a pale rectangle of sun-bleached carpet. Gone. The antique baby grand. Mahogany. 88 keys. Most still in tune. The one Howard had played every Sunday, even when the arthritis in his fingers flared. The one I'd had moved professionally, 3 homes, 2 cities, never a scratch. Gone. I didn't touch the space. I didn't call out. I simply walked forward and stood where the bench used to be, as if proximity could summon an explanation. Instead, I found a slip of paper left on the mantel. We donated the piano this morning. Hope that's okay, it hadn't been played in years. Was collecting dust. Teaver. Melora. No signature from Rylan. Just the floating, sanitized approval of the woman who always smiled when she dismantled. I sat down not on the bench, because there was none but on the armrest of the nearest chair, spine straight, hands folded. For a full 2 minutes, I didn't move. Then I reached for my phone. Rylan picked up on the first ring. "Hi, Mom. Everything okay? Where's the piano?" A pause. A breath. Not guilt calculation. "Oh yeah, we had it picked up this morning. Donated it to that art school over on Greystone. Figured it could actually get used instead of just sitting." "Sitting," I repeated. "Yeah, you mentioned before it was Howard's. We thought maybe this would be more meaningful. Paying it forward, you know. Did I mention it was yours to move?" Another pause. This one longer. "It was cluttering the room, Mom. You haven't played it in years. I didn't realize sentiment had an expiration date." "Come on," he said, chuckling softly. "It's not like we threw it out. It's helping kids. Let's focus on the positive." I said nothing. "You still there?" "Yes. Look," he continued. "Melora's dropping off that new floor lamp today, the one with the soft lighting. We're thinking of making that whole wall a reading nook. Cozy. Calming. You'll love it." I ended the call without replying. Then I walked to the kitchen, took the kettle off the stove, and poured myself tea that had gone tepid while I was out. No need to reheat it. The taste of bitterness doesn't require warmth. I carried the cup to my study, sat down, opened the black leather ledger. The page was already titled, "Irretrievable." I wrote, "He took the one thing I couldn't put in a safety deposit box memory." Then I underlined it. Once. Precisely. I thought about the small scratches on the piano's lid from when Howard dropped his cufflinks. About the little post-it note still inside the sheet music that read, "Don't forget to breathe in the rests." I'd left it there after one of his flare-ups, when he could barely press the pedals but insisted on finishing Claire de Lune. The piano wasn't furniture. It was archive, history, proof. And now it was gone, not stolen in the traditional sense, but removed the way someone deletes old voicemails they think they've already memorized. I closed the ledger, stood, went back into the parlor, and stood again in front of the void. This time, I allowed myself one breath, not a sigh, not a sob, just a long, anchored inhale. And I knew, in that quiet, what this was. Not theft, not malice, erasure. And I'd seen enough of that in my line of work to know one thing. When people start removing what they don't understand, it's never for your comfort. It's for theirs. The morning after the piano vanished, I left the house before the sun had properly decided whether to rise. I didn't bother with breakfast. Didn't check the weather. Just wrapped a shawl around my shoulders, slipped the black ledger into my handbag, and walked. I didn't have a destination. I only knew I needed to be somewhere else. Somewhere without beige walls and framed quotes about gratitude. Somewhere without Tupperware waiting in the fridge like a ransomed future. Somewhere my name wasn't followed by a stipulation. 3 blocks down from the courthouse, a building I once helped consult on after a security audit exposed 12 backdoor vulnerabilities, I found it. A cafe, unassuming. Narrow window panes. A door painted in a color that couldn't decide between green and black. The sign above read, "The Gray Finch." Not a name, a creature. One often overlooked. I liked it immediately. Inside, the space was dim and warm, not curated, lived in. Brick walls, small tables. One large window booth near the back, facing a street that had likely never hosted a parade. No music. Just the hum of espresso machines and the soft percussion of ceramic against wood. I approached the counter. A man stood behind it, maybe 40. Apron, slight limp. a beard that suggested neither vanity nor neglect. "What'll it be?" he asked, without pretense. "Black tea," I said. He nodded, eyes glancing at the leather-bound notebook I'd just slid from my bag onto the counter beside me. "You a writer?" I paused, not surprised he noticed the ledger has presence, the way old books do, even when closed. "Not yet," I said. He smiled. "Window booth's free." I took it. The tea arrived in a matte gray mug. No saucer, no artful lemon wedge. Just heat and quiet, served without performance. I opened the ledger. Until now, it had held entries, lines, fragments, sometimes sentences that felt too sharp to say aloud. But sitting there, a little hunched, a little worn from weeks of polite warfare, I realized something. I wasn't just documenting, I was recording. And recordings, with enough coherence, become stories. And stories, if told precisely, become mirrors. Ones people can't look away from, even when they recognize themselves in the worst light. I turned to a fresh page. At the top, in capital letters, I wrote, Chapter 1. Delegation as a disguise beneath it, in tighter script. The moment a person tells you they're taking something off your plate for your own good, check your bank account. I flipped to the next page. Chapter 2. The stipend is a leash with a flat rate. Then. Chapter 3. Memory doesn't fit in a dumpster receipt. The titles weren't poetic. They weren't polished. They were forensic. Each one a headline of what had been stripped, minimized, softened beyond recognition. I kept going. Not names, not dates, offenses, like a seasoned investigator. Which, once upon a time, I had been. By the time the tea cooled, I had outlined 11 chapters. Not a memoir, not yet, but a structure. A ledger of control, curated in reverse, not what I had built, but what had been taken. The man behind the counter walked by with a cloth in hand. He nodded at the notebook. "Look serious." "It is," I said. "Publishing? Eventually. Fiction or unavoidable?" He gave a low laugh. "That's the good kind." I stayed 2 hours, ordered a second cup, didn't check my phone once. When I finally stood to leave, I looked back at the empty booth, my tea ring still faint on the table, and thought, this is where it starts, not where it ends. At home, the floor lamp Melora had promised was waiting at the door, unopened, boxed, and labeled Drusilla's Relaxation Upgrade. I stepped over it, placed the ledger on my desk, and for the first time in weeks, left the lights on when I sat down. There are 3 kinds of people who read contracts for pleasure: control freaks, liars, and lawyers. I'd spent most of my life being the first and working with the third. Noreen Blass was both. She'd been our firm's go-to legal strategist for nearly 2 decades, the kind of woman who could spot a hidden liability clause like it was printed in red ink, sharp-eyed, infuriatingly detail-oriented, and entirely incapable of small talk unless it came with subpoenaed attachments. I called her under the pretense of catching up. She saw through it in under 10 seconds. "Drusilla," she said, "I know your version of catching up. You need eyes on something." I smiled into the phone. I always liked how little pretense we used to keep. We met at her house the next afternoon. It still smelled like eucalyptus and printer toner. Her dining room table had been cleared, save for 2 legal pads, a highlighter, and a blue ceramic bowl filled with dried figs she'd probably forgotten to replace. I handed her the paperwork Rylan had given me 2 months ago, the streamlined living package, as he called it. The contract I'd signed wearing my retirement watch, and the look of a woman who thought she was still trusted. Noreen didn't speak for the first 5 minutes. She read with the intensity of someone scanning for landmines, page by page, clause by clause. Then she tapped her pen once, sharply against paragraph 14 on the second-to-last page. "There," she said. I leaned in. The language was buried inside a dense block of estate language, the kind designed to sound neutral but taste like metal if you knew how to chew it. Transfer of discretionary trust authority with irrevocable designation. I looked up. Noreen removed her glasses and placed them on the table. "It means," she said carefully, "you signed over full control of the trust. Permanently." I blinked. "Permanently? Unless he dies. Or you sue." The silence between us wasn't awkward. It was structural, the kind that settles between two professionals when the foundation of something has shifted. Let me be blunt, she continued. You don't just have limited access, Drusilla. You've been erased from the architecture. You're a beneficiary in name only. And he's not just managing your money, he's legally you. On paper. My fingers tightened around the edge of the table. And this was, added last minute. Of course it was. She slid the page toward me. It's a clause used in elder directives when someone is incapacitated, not retired, not voluntarily. You don't put this in unless you want the subject out of the equation entirely. I didn't speak. Noreen waited. Finally, I said, and if I sue? She tilted her head. You'd win. Eventually. You'd lose a few years of your life probably, and your relationship with your son if that still matters. It doesn't, I said flatly. Not anymore. She studied me. So what do you want? Options, I replied. Not pity, not consolation, just strategy. Her mouth twitched, not a smile, but close. Still the consultant. Always, I said. I just changed my client. It's me now. I left her house with a copy of the paperwork, annotated, and a yellow sticky note she'd placed on the folder flap. Bet on silence. Bet wrong. When I got home, I went to the study, sat at the desk, lit the small candle Howard had given me back when the firm moved into its first proper office. The scent was barely there now, cedar and ink. I opened the black ledger. New page. He bet on silence. Let's see how he handles an echo. I underlined echo twice, not for drama, for precision, because that's what this was becoming. Not a protest, not a fight, a calculation, one he never saw coming. The gray finch was half empty that morning. 2 students with laptops hogged the outlets. A man in paint-splattered overalls sipped coffee and scribbled in a sketchbook. And I sat in the window booth, ledger open, pen hovering, writing as if I was preparing evidence for a case that would never be tried. I had just outlined Chapter 10, Kindness as Camouflage, the soft language of structural theft. The phrase had come to me as I watched a young woman hold the cafe door open for an elderly man, then immediately cut in front of him at the counter. People rarely know when they're stealing, especially when they do it smiling. I hadn't noticed her approach. She was already standing beside my booth, holding a drink she hadn't touched and a tote bag full of dog-eared books. Excuse me, she said. Are you a writer? I looked up. Mid-30s, sharp-eyed, messy bun, blazer too nice for a coffee shop. Something told me this wasn't just a social interruption. Depends who's asking. She smiled. Maris Langley. I'm an editor. Winterlight Publishing. I was at the counter when you read that last line out loud. I frowned. I don't read my writing out loud. You did, she said, quietly. Not to anyone. Just, like it needed to be said. Out loud, you said, kindness as camouflage. That's not just writing. That's indictment. I stared at her. You mind if I sit? I didn't answer, but I moved my tea to the side. She took the hint. I'm not here to pitch you anything you don't want, she said, settling in across from me. But I saw the ledger. I saw how you hold it. Like it matters. It does, I said. Can I read something? I hesitated. Not out of modesty, I had long since outgrown the need to be coddled, but because the words in that notebook were raw, unstyled. They hadn't been curated for effect. They had been bled. Still, I turned to a page. Chapter 4. The stipend is a leash with a flat rate. I slid it across the table. She read in silence. 2 pages. No flinching. When she finished, she looked up slowly. You're not angry, she said. No. You're accurate, she continued. That's more dangerous. I liked her immediately. She leaned forward. Have you considered publishing? No, I replied. I've considered surviving. She nodded. Not patronizing like someone who had heard that line before. Would you, she asked, consider sharing this? Not under your name. We could use a pseudonym. Protect your identity. Let the words stand on their own. Truth, I said, doesn't need protection. It needs placement. She blinked just once, then smiled, smaller this time. I think people would read this and see themselves, she said. And maybe the people who put them in those stories would see themselves too. which is uncomfortable, but useful. I looked out the window. A cyclist passed, then a dog walker. Life continuing. Unaware. I'm not interested in revenge, I said. Good, she replied. Revenge doesn't sell, but truth wrapped in dignity? That does. For a long moment, I said nothing. Then, what would it look like? Quiet rollout. Digital first, small press release. We'd position it as a hybrid part memoir, part indictment. No drama, no sensationalism. Just a voice people recognize but didn't know they missed. I looked down at my own handwriting. The ledger had never been a manuscript. But perhaps it had been preparing for one. If I agree, I said, I choose the title. Of course. I choose the tone. Obviously. And I keep the original. The ledger doesn't leave my possession. Understood. We shook hands. No contract. Not yet. Just contact the kind that feels less like a deal and more like a match being struck in a room that's been waiting to burn. After she left, I sat for another hour. Didn't write. Just traced the corner of the page she'd read, over and over, with my finger. Then I turned to a fresh page and wrote the words. Chapter 1. Signed with trust. Paid for in silence. And beneath it, let's see what the world does with an old woman's accuracy. The release date wasn't marked on any calendar. No fanfare, no launch party, no author selfies holding champagne. Maris kept it intentionally quiet. She sent me a one-line email. Your book is live. I made tea. Watched the kettle boil. Didn't open the link. It wasn't hesitation. It was discipline. Let the world arrive on its own terms. I'd spent enough time knocking on locked doors. I didn't expect much. A handful of downloads, perhaps. Some polite nods from indie readers who liked stories written by ghosts. But ghosts don't stay ghosts if they know where to speak. It started with a screenshot, a Twitter post, white text on a black background. No attribution, no hashtags, just the sentence. Silence is the most polite form of financial abuse. It spread like a cold front. People shared it without knowing where it came from, which made it stronger. Untethered from authorship. It could be everyone's. Someone posted it on Instagram over a blurred photo of a grandmother's hands. A TikTok creator read it aloud over footage of her mother being told to just trust the process by a financial advisor. By the end of the first week, it had been reposted over 80,000 times. By the end of the second, the guessing began. Anyone know where this is from? Is this that anonymous elder abuse memoir? Who is this woman? Someone posted a line from Chapter 6, the one I'd scribbled at the Grey Finch after my second tea. A stipend is just a leash that pretends not to be one. It hit the right kind of nerve. Small accounts shared it. Then bigger ones. Then the influencers always late to truth but quick to sell it. Podcasters started quoting lines without knowing the author's name. Just calling me the Ledger Woman. One day, a wellness coach posted a carousel with a caption, "We must talk about invisible disempowerment in aging." These lines wrecked me. And then, beneath it, she didn't lose her money. She lost her name on the file. I watched it unfold from my living room, black tea in hand, television off. No headlines. Just the slow cracking open of something long calcified. And then came the thread. A semi-anonymous account, probably someone in publishing, posted a 3-part tweet. Former risk consultant, son in tech, irrevocable discretionary trust. The dots are connectable. It didn't name me, but it named him, Rylan. The account tagged his company Ultra Labs and asked, "Does your founder support financial autonomy for aging family members? Or does he manage them like assets?" The post didn't go viral, it went feral. By that evening, Rylan's PR team issued a statement, categorically denying any familial connection to the book. A classic overreach. No one had officially asked. By the next morning, my inbox, the one I hadn't checked in weeks, had 119 messages. Half were readers, half were strangers writing from burner accounts, attaching spreadsheets and legal screenshots and begging, "Can you tell me what clause to look for in mine? My mother is in this situation. You're writing all of us." And then there was the internal memo. A whistleblower forwarded it from Rylan's company. Subject: Social Response Containment Strategy. It included lines like, "Maintain that any resemblance is coincidental. Do not reference trust structure specifics publicly. Begin preparing for soft reputational impact. It ended with a phrase I hadn't heard since I left the boardroom. We did not anticipate legacy media engagement. No. Of course they didn't. They didn't anticipate anything. Because people like Rylan don't believe quiet women carry grenades. They believe we hold teacups. I opened the black ledger that night. No title this time. Just a line. The difference between a whisper and a warning is what happens next. I closed it softly. No performance. I didn't need to gloat. I'd written the truth. Now it was simply echoing in boardrooms, on screens, through every hallway he thought was soundproof. They didn't knock on my door. They emailed, called twice, sent a package wrapped in linen-textured paper with my name written, not Ms. Vance, not Drusilla, but the full ceremonial weight. Drusilla Margot Vance keynote invitation. Silver Summit on Ethical Aging featured address. The illusion of consent in modern elder finance. I laughed when I read that last line. Not because it was wrong, but because it was finally accurate. The event was held in a glass auditorium overlooking the harbor, the kind of venue designed to make everyone feel like transparency was part of the architecture. I arrived 15 minutes early. Wore a fitted navy dress, my mother's pearls, and the same watch I'd worn the day I retired. Still ticking. Still mine. The black ledger came with me, not as a prop, as record. Maris met me backstage. She'd flown in. Said nothing about the headlines, or the fact that Winterlight's entire site now featured my book in bold serif. The Silent Signature, by D.M. Vance. I'll keep it short, I told her. She nodded. You don't have to explain anything. I'm not explaining. I'm delivering. I walked on stage to applause. I hadn't earned by charm, popularity, or tears. Just clarity. The moderator introduced me as a retired executive who chose not to vanish, a mother, a survivor of soft disenfranchisement, a writer. I approached the podium, rested one hand on its side, kept the other on the ledger. There were no theatrics, just my voice low, measured, familiar only to people who'd spent years listening to others before they spoke. I began. Control isn't always forced. Sometimes it's signed for, with trust, and a smile, a beat. Then I continued. I was not a victim of brute force. No one forged my name. No one threatened me. They offered help, streamlining, simplicity, and they used words designed to sound like love but built to function like contracts. They said, "You'll never have to worry again." What they meant was, "You'll never get to decide again." There wasn't a single cough in the room. I kept going. There is a kind of cruelty that never raises its voice. It wears a lanyard, smiles in holiday photos, and says things like, "We just want what's best for her." What's best, apparently, was $800 a month and a preloaded grocery card approved for carrots but not coffee beans. What was best was scrubbing my name from accounts I founded, donating furniture I didn't approve, redefining dignity as what fits into the plan. But I was never angry. I was aware. And awareness, unlike permission, doesn't need anyone's signature. I saw the moderator lower her eyes. Her hands were clenched not in judgment, in recognition. Good. I don't need your sympathy, I said. And I don't need your shame. I need your systems to acknowledge that a PhD doesn't protect you from being erased. That mothers with spreadsheets and decades of career experience are still being treated like confused dependents the moment we slow down. What I want is not revenge. It's audit, of behavior, of language, of how easily we rebrand control as care. I closed the ledger, placed it beside the microphone. Let the room sit with what I didn't say. Then I offered one last line, the one they'd put on mugs and tote bags later, but that I meant with blood-deep certainty. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. You just have to keep the record. Because one day, they'll realize you were listening. The whole time. The applause was quiet at first, then rolling, then something like thunder, the kind that doesn't startle but shakes. Afterward, 3 women waited in line just to touch the spine of the ledger. One whispered, "I've been writing in mine for years." I didn't know what it was yet. I looked her in the eye. You do now. They didn't call first. They didn't email. They rang the bell at 8:42 a.m. On a Thursday, the same hour my pension notifications used to arrive. I opened the door to find them both standing there. Melora in a belted camel coat, Rylan in what I suspect he thought passed for business casual crisis mode. No tie, expensive hoodie, jaw set like he was the victim. The air between them was stiff with rehearsed restraint. I stepped aside without speaking. Let them follow me in like clients who forgot I used to write the terms. The house smelled like orange peels and clean paper. I had just made tea Assam, no sugar, and set out 3 cups, not out of hospitality but precision. Let no one say I wasn't civil. Melora sat first. Her smile was brittle, the kind that wants to melt but hasn't rehearsed how. "We're just here to talk," she began. "No cameras," Rylan added, with the arrogance of someone who thinks the threat of cameras still works in his favor. I sat across from them, ledger in place at my side. Closed, but close. Melora inhaled. "We've noticed the attention the book is getting." I said nothing. "And we're a little concerned," she continued, "about the way it's being interpreted." "The media has taken liberties," Rylan interrupted. "And we're worried about the spin." "The spin," I repeated. "Yes, it's becoming a PR issue. For you." Melora glanced at him, then back at me. "Look, Drusilla, it's gone very far. There's talk online about abuse, legal interference, family manipulation. Isn't that interesting?" I said, calm as water. "None of those words appear in the manuscript, but people found them anyway." Rylan leaned forward. "You've made this very personal." I looked at him for a long, clean second. Then, "It was never not personal, Rylan. You just didn't think I'd write it down." He opened his mouth, then closed it like he hadn't budgeted for that sentence. Melora shifted in her seat. "We want to find a resolution. Quietly, without damaging relationships any further." "Which relationship specifically?" I asked. "The one where you drop off pre-approved meals and reduce a 74-year-old woman to a gift card budget? Or the one where you removed her name from her own accounts and donated a family heirloom to make room for better flow?" "Mom." "No," I cut in. "That word no longer operates as cover." He recoiled slightly, as if realizing finally that this wasn't a phase. Melora tried again. "We could issue a joint statement. Something neutral. Something like Drusilla Vance is exploring storytelling as a method of healing generational tension." I raised an eyebrow. "Are you offering to ghostwrite that too?" She blinked. "No," I continued. "Then allow me to counteroffer." I stood, walked to the desk drawer, and retrieved a single piece of paper. Laid it between us. Typed. Signed. 1 paragraph long. It read, "This book is not an accusation, it is a record. The people who feel named by it are simply those who believed their actions wouldn't survive sunlight." Rylan scanned it. His mouth moved no sound. Melora looked ready to cry. Not from grief, but strategy. Rylan finally spoke. "You're trying to ruin me." I met his eyes. "No. You're trying to run a company that champions transparency and user trust. I'm merely demonstrating how those values behave inside your own house." The tea had gone cold by then. I didn't offer to reheat it. They left. 5 minutes later. No handshakes, no hugs. Just the unmistakable sound of silence cracking between people who once thought politeness was a substitute for accountability. After the door closed, I opened the ledger, wrote a new entry. "When they come to contain the fire, it means the smoke finally reached their office." Then I poured the cold tea out, not in haste, not in bitterness, just in preparation. Something warmer was on its way. It arrived on cream paper, tucked inside a manila envelope that reeked of desperation wrapped in letterhead. "Cease and desist." From the desk of one Reynold F. Burns, attorney for Rylan J. Vance, the kind of man who prides himself on couriered threats written in softened legalese, as if calling theft a miscommunication of fiduciary oversight somehow makes it smell less like theft. It didn't come directly to me, of course. They sent it to Maris. Her email, titled simply "Thoughts," contained a scanned copy and a 3-word summary. "They're squirming hard." The letter was peppered with phrases like potential reputational damage, unfounded allegations, public defamation under the guise of narrative liberty. They never used the word mother. Not once. They used the author, the party in question, and the individual known publicly under the pseudonym DM, Vance. I suppose that's the final evolution of erasure, when even your name becomes inconvenient. Maris's reply, addressed to Burns, was not long. It did not beg, retract, or bristle. It read, "Our client stands by her words. We welcome the opportunity to discuss, in court if necessary, the extensive documentation, timestamps, trust clauses, and banking correspondence in her possession. As a reminder, truth is not libel. Kindly proceed. No threats, just positioning." That same afternoon, I wrote something new, not a sequel, not a tell-all, a single blisteringly focused piece titled, "Power of Attorney is not Power of Identity." Just under 0 words. Precise. Surgical. Public. I didn't name Rylan, didn't have to. I named the behaviors. Stripping financial access under the guise of care, using trust law as a loophole for domination, confusing legal convenience with ethical absolution. It wasn't angry, it was a mirror. I submitted it to Atlantic. They declined too personal. Medium published it the next morning. By noon, it trended. The headline alone was retweeted by dozens of elder rights organizations, financial ethics panels, even a few former colleagues who once ghosted my retirement party. Someone clipped a paragraph and turned it into a screensaver. If signing over your bank account makes you vanish, then what you've lost isn't just money, it's presence. And no legal form grants the right to erase someone's presence. The analytics showed over 600, 0 views in 24 hours. Rylan's team went silent. No follow-up letter. No press release. Not even a denial. I suppose they realized, finally, that the courtroom would not be their ally, because the courtroom doesn't delete ledgers, especially not the kind kept in ink. I didn't post a victory message, didn't give interviews. I declined a podcast request with a single line. I don't explain integrity, I document it. Instead, I sat on the back porch with a pot of chamomile and opened the ledger. The pages were dense now, not just with entries, but with outcomes, notations of shift, asterisks beside every entry that had echoed. I added one more. Threats are a last resort for those who mistook silence for absence. Then I closed it, tied the band around its cover. Maris called later that evening. "They won't move again," she said. "They already did," I replied. "They moved when they tried to make me invisible." She paused, and I could almost hear her smile. "You're not invisible now." "No," I said. "I'm annotated." It's odd. How many checks come in when your pain goes viral? Royalty deposits, foreign rights offers, a studio option, wrapped in soft flattery and harder numbers. One producer described the manuscript as the kind of narrative that can move units across 4 continents. I told Maris, I didn't write it to move units. I wrote it to anchor memory. Still, the funds arrived predictable, measured, ironically efficient. Every month, like clockwork. One wire transfer after another, collecting in an account they no longer had access to. The same institution that once froze me out now attached my name to priority client correspondence. Maris sent me the final quarterly statement, 2.4 million. Net. Not projected. I sat at my desk, held the statement like I once held profit reports professionally, without ceremony. Numbers had never impressed me. They'd only ever informed me. It was the shape they made that mattered, and I knew exactly what shape I wanted this one to take. The next morning, I made an appointment at Hewitt Lang, Crowe, a boutique legal firm in the West End. Not for defense, for structure. 2 weeks later, the filings were official. The Ledger Line Trust established 2025 for elder women reclaiming financial autonomy. After covert abuse, 70% of the book's earnings would go into it. Not in pieces. In full, immediate allocation. Structured to support litigation aid, emergency legal consultations, and small stipends to help women walk away without walking into poverty. No application required a police report, just a ledger. Or the willingness to start one. The rest of the money? A modest amount left for myself, enough for late-night bookstores and hand-stitched scarves. A small bequest set aside for Lillian, my niece's daughter, who once sat beside me and said, "Aunt Drew, you talk like you already know the end of every story." Maybe I do. The press request came shortly after the Trust's website went live. The New York Herald. One senior editor. A 3-question feature. Nothing performative, I agreed. They sent a photographer who didn't try to soften the lines on my face or blur the sharpness of my eyes. She asked if I wanted a prop. I handed her the ledger. She asked if I had a quote for the piece. I wrote it down on hotel stationery, with the same pen I used for my first entry. The balance was never about money, it was about memory. They printed it verbatim, in bold, under the headline. She was erased on paper, so she wrote her own. The day it ran, I received 47 emails. Not from lawyers, from readers. Women from New Hampshire to New South Wales. Some still in the silence. Some already holding pens. A few had named their own notebooks. One called hers, the receipt book. Another, the proof drawer. One woman simply called hers, me. I forwarded the messages to Maris. She called me that night and said, "Do you realize what you've done?" "I didn't do it for recognition." "No," she replied. "But it found you anyway." That night I opened the ledger. Not to write in it, just to read the first line again. This is not about money. It's about disappearing. I smiled. Not triumphant. Not smug. Just present. Visible. And more importantly, accounted for. The building hadn't changed much. Same slate gray exterior. Same vertical blinds that never quite aligned. But the name etched into the glass beside the entryway had now it read, Vance Hauling Strategies Founder's Wing. Legacy floor. I paused a moment before stepping inside. My name was still there, just smaller now, tucked beneath the mission statement in serif font. Strategic risk for modern futures. I had written that line in 1997, scribbled in a hotel napkin during a blackout in Boston. Inside, everything smelled faintly of jasmine and printer ink. There was soft laughter from down the hall, the hum of bright minds solving quiet disasters. It used to be my orchestra. Now it was theirs. I liked that. I was met in the lobby by Freya Thornwell, the youngest managing partner in the firm's history. Smart, exacting, unshakable. She used to shadow me with a notepad and barely blink. Now, she ran 2 departments and chaired an ethics advisory board. "Thank you for coming, Drusilla," she said, extending a hand. I didn't correct her. "You can take your name off the board, but some titles will follow you like loyal dogs." She led me down the corridor to the glass conference room. There, on the table, was a slim, velvet-lined box. Inside, a time capsule. "This," Freya said, "is part of our 20-year initiative. We're sealing core documents from the firm's founding and growth letters, frameworks, policies into a steel container. It'll be opened by the woman who leads this firm in 2045. And we want your ledger," she said gently. "Not the whole thing, just a page. Signed." Across the room stood an intern, maybe 21, blonde braid, blazer too big, eyes like she expected lightning. She held her phone still but forgot to press record. I walked to the table, unbuttoned my coat, and placed the black leather ledger down with slow hands. The elastic band still had the tension of every silence I'd survived. I turned to the final page, crisp, untouched, and took out my pen. I didn't write a paragraph, just one sentence. Then a name. He took my accounts, but I kept the record. Drusilla Margot. Vancy closed the ledger. Freya exhaled, almost reverently. The intern's hand finally trembled down. "I didn't know a ledger could be like that." "It isn't a weapon," I said. "It's a witness. Will they read all of it one day?" "No, they'll feel it." I handed the ledger to Freya, who slid it into the box with care reserved for relics. And in a way, it was one. A record of things most women never get to finish. Not because they lacked strength, but because the world kept stealing their pens. As we walked back down the hall, Freya touched my arm. "You didn't have to come back here, you know." "I didn't," I replied. "I had to leave properly." She smiled. "Any regrets?" "Just one," I said, pausing at the front door. "I should have bought better wine with my first pension check." Laughter, not forced earned. I stepped out into the crisp afternoon sun. No press waiting. No sun hiding behind. Spin. Just a sky that didn't care who got the last word. which is why I made sure I did. That evening, I made a final entry, not in the old ledger, in a fresh one. Midnight blue, uncreased, clean. First line: truth doesn't end, it renews. And beneath it, small but unmistakable: DM Vance, July 2025.